Coming up, we'll take you to the first board meeting for one animal shelter since the president stepped down.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Thanks for staying up with us. The Kentucky River Regional Animal Shelter hosted its first board meeting since former board president Tony Vaughn stepped down. WYMT's Amelia Lee was at the meeting tonight.
Who is in charge? The question that led the Kentucky River Regional Animal Shelter board meeting, just 2 weeks after former board president Tony Vaughn stepped down. At the meeting Tuesday night, the board and county judges started their journey of restructuring and clarity.
It was a really smooth meeting. I feel like we got a lot of involvement, which is what we really wanted.
The biggest item on the docket, finding an interim president who understands how CRAS operates.
That way we can, continue moving forward, because there are certain decisions we can't make without those roles in that, that full executive committee.
Bill Caldwell was voted as the interim president and Donna Singleton as the interim vice president. Both decisions were unanimous.
Those are two people that are working really hard for the shelter every single day.
The plan is for the permanent president to be voted on in the September or October board meetings. In terms of board members, there are typically 3 per county. Those spots are not currently all filled.
We're going to reach out to all 4 counties and have them start working on some nominations of who they would think would be appropriate for the board seats. Board member Brandy Adams says she is thankful for the help of the community at the shelter during this time of transition. The amount of support that we have received just in the last 2 weeks has been incredible.
Building back for the animals. In Perry County, Amelia Lee, WYMT Mountain News.
The turnout included approximately 27 folks in person and 32 on Zoom. Potential future meetings were also discussed. A second person is facing charges in a moped crash that killed a 10-year-old girl in Whitley County. Wade Martin is charged with murder and driving under the influence. He is accused of drinking and then driving a moped that crashed into a car on I-75 on August 4th. Denisha Martin, the mother of the girl who died, is charged with complicity to murder. Her criminal complaint says she admitted to knowing Wade had been drinking beforehand. Wade and the child were flown to UK Hospital where the girl died. Both suspects are being held in the Whitley County Detention Center. We have new information about a school bus incident in Floyd County that ended with a man taken to jail. Prestonsburg police say 20-year-old Damon Adams got on a Floyd County school bus pretending to be a student with his brother, who is a student. Police say this happened after Adams left the scene of a trespassing complaint in the Water Gap community. Adams was arrested for an outstanding indictment warrant and criminal trespassing and taken to the Floyd County Detention Center. School officials say there was no disruptive behavior observed while Adams was on the bus. The Knott County School Superintendent is retiring. Brent Hoover announced his decision in a letter to the school community. He said it was a deeply personal and emotional decision after spending nearly 30 years in the district. He became superintendent in 2021 after the death of Kim King. His retirement is effective October 1st. You can read his entire statement on WYMT.com.
What another beautiful day across the area. Temperatures were in the 70s some places, especially in our higher altitude cities over towards Wise and Clintwood. We're in the mid-60s. Talk about very fall-like across the area. 63 was the high in Wise, 64 in Clintwood, 67 in Grundy, 70 in Pikeville, 72 in Hazard, 74 in London, 75 in Somerset. And right now, temperatures are in the 40s and 50s, 49 in Clintwood, 59 in Jackson, 55 the Double Nickels in Manchester, as well as Irvine, 59 in London, 59 in Somerset. All is quiet on Live Pinpoint Doppler radar. We're picking up those false returns like we normally do this time at night. So again, a clean sweep across the area. If you have plans for the next 12 hours, we'll see temperatures staying in the mid-50s. We'll go to 63 by 10 a.m., 69 by noon. When you wake up in the morning, temperatures in the 40s and 50s will greet you, and I hope you enjoy this nice stretch of fall-like weather because it's going to come to an end pretty soon. I'll tell you when in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. Day 2 of the Democratic National Convention just wrapped, and it featured more party heavyweights and another appearance by the Democratic presidential nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris. CBS's Skylar Henry is in Chicago.
Vice President Kamala Harris made a virtual appearance at the DNC, speaking from a rally in Milwaukee with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
We are so honored to be your nominees. This is a people-powered campaign, and together we will chart a new way forward.
We're not going back. We're not going back. VP Harris.
That followed a ceremonial roll call, purely held for celebratory purposes since Harris and Walz were already nominated earlier this month.
It's time for us to do the right thing, and that is to elect Kamala Harris.
I'm feeling fired up.
The prime spot of the night went to former President Barack Obama, who focused on why the ticket is what the country needs right now.
America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Hello, Chicago!
Former First Lady Michelle Obama told the crowd Harris has the experience and values for the job.
America, hope is making a comeback.
The focus of the day was a bold vision for America's future as Democrats tried to show a stark difference between Harris and her challenger, former President Donald Trump.
That included hearing from former Trump press secretary Stephanie Grisham.
Behind closed doors, Trump mocks his supporters. He calls them basement dwellers.
Walz is expected to start tomorrow night and Harris on Thursday to wrap up a convention intended to bring more excitement to the new ticket. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Chicago.
The party was trying to curtail speeches tonight after last night went far over schedule, pushing President Biden's speech out of prime time. Tonight, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance is making his position known following comments made by Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear this morning. While speaking on the topic of abortion, Governor Beshear brought up a previous comment from Vance in which the Ohio senator stated in part, quote, "A child should be allowed to live even though the circumstances of that child's birth are somehow inconvenient," end quote. Beshear said about that statement today on Morning Joe, quote, "Inconvenience is traffic. Make him go through this." In response, Senator Vance said this to reporters in Milwaukee.
And he's effectively fantasizing about some member of my family getting raped so that I know what it feels like. But this particular thing, going after my family, really bothered me. And look, the comments that he's talking about, I never once called rape inconvenient. It's a total fiction of the Democratic National Committee.
Governor Beshear is still in Chicago attending the DNC. Now, former President Donald Trump will campaign in the battleground state of North Carolina after campaigning in Michigan today. In the city of Howell, the former president promised support for police and tougher crime measures if re-elected. He is also set to campaign in Arizona and Nevada in the coming days. The University of Kentucky is dissolving its Office of Institutional Diversity. The decision comes months after the state legislature tried to pass bills targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion programs on college campuses statewide. Grayson Passmore heard from Lexington's NAACP president, who fears the precedent this decision sets, as well as Republican lawmakers who say they are pleased.
It's a decision NAACP chapter president Whit Whitaker fears will have a domino effect across the state. In an email, UK President Eli Capilouto said he'd not only be dissolving the Office of Institutional Diversity, but removing mandatory diversity training throughout the university, and no employees will be required to write a diversity statement to be employed.
Destroying a very vital and important office that has served and helped students, and that has been instrumental in increasing enrollment and wanting students to come here.
Whitaker says DEI initiatives help combat biases.
Marginalized students feel that their concerns not going to be heard.
Capilouto spoke out against anti-DEI legislation back in April. But Tuesday, he said the decision comes after he received feedback throughout the summer, including from legislators concerned about the role of DEI at UK. Senate Majority Whip Mike Wilson, who sponsored one failed anti-DEI bill, said in a statement, "A true elimination of these DEI policies will end the division they promote." Representative Jennifer Decker, another sponsor of failed legislation, said she remains hopeful that other institutions will follow their lead. Those for and against the decision are sure to be listening when the university is expected to speak on the topic of DEI during a committee meeting in September. In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
In a statement about this decision, UK President Eli Capilouto said in part, quote, "The university and Capilouto will no longer make statements on political or partisan events or issues. A new office, the Office for Community Relations, will be created in place of the Office of Institutional Diversity." Thousands of AT&T employees are on strike for what they are claiming is unfair treatment. Groups have been on strike since Friday throughout the southeastern part of the U.S. Workers in Harlan County have been encouraging those passing by to honk their horns. The workers are represented by the Communication Workers of America. District 3's Local 3372 President Frank McMillian says the company is not properly supporting its employees.
They're bringing people to the table that are not making good decisions and not bargaining with the members that we have sitting down there. You know, our members are devoted members. They love their jobs. They love to work.
The workers striking in Harlan County are just a few of the nearly 17,000 throughout the district. An AT&T spokesperson tells us claims of unfair labor practices are not grounded in fact. You can read their entire statement on WYMT.com. Coming up on this late edition of Mountain News at 11, a mission group is still helping folks in the mountains more than 2 years after the 2022 flood.
And fall-like weather will continue for tomorrow, but it ain't lasting. Details in a few minutes. Stay with us.
When you